Ilara sat in the cold, desolate confines of her cell, the metallic chill seeping into her bones. She was a Zidonian warrior, captured and awaiting her execution at the hands of the Terran Federation, the very empire she had once sworn to oppose. The faint echo of approaching footsteps barely registered in her mind, preoccupied as it was with the grim certainty of her fate. Ilara, a soldier from a distant world, had fought tirelessly to protect her people from the Federation's oppressive rule. Now, branded a traitor, she awaited her end. Slow, measured breaths were all that remained, a testament to her stoic acceptance of death. She had prepared herself to face the end with the honor expected of her people. It was a bitter irony that a human, a soldier of the empire she despised, would be her executioner. Ilara's thoughts drifted back to the time before her capture, when she had fought alongside a small band of rebels against the Federation's tyranny. She recalled her strength, her courage, the fearless camaraderie of her fellow rebels. Now, the rebellion was crushed, her comrades either dead or imprisoned. Her capture had been inevitable. Ilara had failed, and now she would pay the ultimate price. Yet, strangely, fear was absent. She had witnessed death countless times, both on the battlefield and in the faces of fallen comrades. Death was simply a part of a warrior's life, a transition her people embraced without fear, considering it an honor to fall in battle. This honor, however, had been denied her, stolen by the betrayal of those she had trusted. The approaching footsteps grew louder, snapping Ilara back to the present. She lifted her head slightly, her keen, alien eyes narrowing as a shadow passed the cell bars. The soft hum of electronic mechanisms signaled the unlocking of her cell door. Standing in the doorway was a human soldier, clad in the uniform of the Terran Federation. His face was stern, yet his eyes held a flicker of something that intrigued Ilara. Tall, with dark hair and a serious expression, he surveyed her silently before stepping into the cell. Ilara stood, her body still aching from the struggle that had led to her capture. She braced herself, unsure whether to expect mercy or cruelty. Stories of humans, their peculiar customs and their even more perplexing sense of justice, were common, but she had never encountered one before. "Are you the one they sent to end my life?" Ilara's voice, though calm, carried the weight of her situation. She harbored no anger, only a weary resignation. The human soldier paused, studying her intently before responding. His voice was deep and steady. "I'm not here to kill you. Not yet, at least." Ilara's heart jolted. Disbelief washed over her. "Not here to kill me? Then why are you here?" Her voice was laced with bewilderment. "I've been sentenced. Death is all that awaits me." The soldier stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "I don't believe death is the answer for you. You deserve more than that." Ilara tilted her head, her alien features sharp and proud. She had never been one to yield, but this human was unlike any she had encountered. She expected a swift execution, not this unsettling conversation. It felt like a violation of her people's traditions, yet something in his words, in his steady gaze, made her hesitate. Crossing her arms defensively, she said, "You don't understand. For my people, death is the highest honor. It's what we prepare for. Why should I live when my people are gone? Why should I continue when I have failed them?" The human soldier remained silent for a moment, his expression softening. Then, he spoke again, his voice quieter. "Because you deserve to live. Because not every fight ends in death. I'm not here to take your life. I'm here to stop you from throwing it away." Ilara's eyes narrowed, scrutinizing him, trying to discern his true intentions. His words were illogical, yet his calm demeanor made her question everything she had believed. She had prepared for death, for the end, but this soldier had thrown her certainty into disarray. "Why?" she asked again, her voice barely a whisper. The soldier took another step closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "Because sometimes death isn't the answer. Sometimes survival is the hardest choice." Ilara fell silent, her thoughts racing. She had been ready to die, but now, confronted by this human who seemed to see something within her that she couldn't see herself, she felt uncertain. Could she truly go on? Should she even try? For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Ilara wondered if there was more to life than what she had always been taught. The human soldier extended a hand towards her. "Come with me. I'll help you. There's more than just death waiting for you." Saraya paused, her breath catching in her throat. The human's hand, still outstretched, seemed to pulse with an unfamiliar warmth. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to reject this bizarre offer of aid. She was a Cathar warrior, trained from birth to face death with unflinching resolve. Weakness was anathema. Yet, the soldier's steady gaze held no malice, no gloating triumph of a conqueror. It was different. A quiet understanding flickered in his eyes, a spark of something that resonated within Saraya's weary soul. "Why," she finally managed, the word a rasp in the dry air of the cell. "Why offer me aid? I am your enemy. A traitor to the hegemony." The soldier slowly retracted his hand, crossing his arms but maintaining his unwavering gaze. "You are not my enemy, Saraya. Not anymore." Saraya blinked, her 3 eyelids momentarily obscuring her vision. "You do not know me. How can you make such a claim?" He sighed, the tension seeming to drain from his shoulders a fraction. "I don't need to know your history to understand that what's happening to you is unjust. I've witnessed enough suffering to differentiate between a true enemy and someone who has been pushed to the breaking point." Saraya's eyes narrowed, the ridges above them tightening. "And you believe I have been pushed?" Her voice sharpened, like a honed blade. "I am a warrior, not a victim. I fought for my people. I failed, yes, but that does not diminish my strength." The human shook his head slowly, his expression unchanging. "I didn't imply weakness. You are more than just a warrior. More than the sum of past choices. And I'm not here to judge." For the first time since their encounter, Saraya felt a flicker of something unexpected. Not pity, but respect. She had spent her life consumed by the battlefield, by survival. This human, however, saw past the warrior, past the enemy, and saw her. The realization left her feeling strangely vulnerable, a sensation she instinctively recoiled from. She looked down at the cold metal floor, struggling to suppress the unfamiliar emotion swirling within. Why should she trust him? Why trust anyone? The human persisted, undeterred by her silence. His voice was firm, but laced with a gentle undertone. "I don't want to kill you, Saraya. I don't believe in taking a life needlessly. Not anymore. And I don't believe you truly want to die either. You're a fighter, I see that. But life offers more than just conflict." Saraya clenched her fists, the sharp edges of her Cathar armor digging into her skin. "You don't understand," she insisted, her voice regaining its icy edge. "You don't know what it's like. I have nothing. My people are gone. My cause is lost. There is nothing left to fight for. I would embrace death rather than live with this disgrace." The soldier took a cautious step closer, respecting her need for space. "I understand more than you think," he said softly. "I've experienced loss, Saraya. My people are at war too. But I continue to fight. Not because I relish it, but because I believe in something. I believe in peace. And I believe you possess the strength to choose that. To choose life, even when everything urges you to surrender." Saraya shook her head, fighting back the tide of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Peace? In her world, peace was a lie, a tool used to oppress the weak. How could this human believe in such a naive concept? Yet, there was something in his voice, a conviction that made her question her lifelong convictions. "Why?" she asked again, her voice quieter now, laced with doubt. "Why do you care? Why care about me? I'm not like you." The human met her gaze, the weight of his answer evident in his eyes. "Because I believe everyone deserves a chance. Even you, Saraya. Especially you." Silence hung heavy in the air between them. Saraya's heart pounded against her ribs. She wanted to scream, to tell him to leave her alone, to stop this charade of offering hope where none existed. But she didn't. Because deep down, a small, fragile part of her recognized the truth in his words. Perhaps she didn't want to die. Perhaps she was simply weary of fighting a battle already lost. Saria stood motionless, her gaze fixed on the soldier, her thoughts a chaotic storm. For the first time, she wondered if there was more to existence than endless conflict and inevitable death. Perhaps there was truth in this human's strange words. The alarms blared, a shrill, piercing shriek that sliced through the quiet tension of the room. Jax, the human soldier, reacted instantly, his calm demeanor replaced by a focused urgency. He pushed Sirin towards a recessed alcove, his hand firm but gentle. "Stay hidden," he commanded, his voice low and tense. "Don't move, don't make a sound." Sirin didn't hesitate. She pressed herself into the shadows, her breath catching in her throat. The heavy thud of boots echoed in the corridor outside, growing louder with each passing second. The metallic clang of weapons, the shouted commands, painted a vivid picture of the chaos erupting just beyond their fragile sanctuary. Sirin closed her eyes, fighting the urge to panic. She could feel the vibrations through the floor, the very structure of the facility trembling under the assault. Jax remained at the alcove's entrance, his body a rigid line of defense. He didn't draw his weapon, but Sirin could sense his readiness, the coiled tension in his stance. He was a shield, a silent promise of protection. The sounds of conflict intensified. A series of explosions rocked the building, sending tremors through the walls. Sirin flinched, the dust raining down on her from the vibrating ceiling. Screams and shouts mingled with the roar of the explosions, creating a terrifying symphony of violence. She peeked cautiously from the alcove, her heart pounding against her ribs. A group of soldiers, clad in the familiar black armor of the hegemony, rushed past, their weapons raised. They were too focused on their objective to notice the small alcove, too intent on the chaos they were creating. Jax didn't relax. He remained vigilant, his eyes scanning the corridor, searching for any sign of danger. The explosions continued, closer now, it seemed. The facility was falling apart around them. "We have to move," Jax whispered, his voice strained. He gestured for Sirin to follow him. They slipped out of the alcove, moving as silently as ghosts through the debris-strewn corridor. The air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of smoke. Sirin followed Jax's lead, trusting his instincts, his knowledge of the facility. They navigated a maze of hallways, passing shattered equipment and overturned furniture. The emergency lights flickered erratically, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the walls. The sounds of battle were everywhere, a cacophony of explosions and gunfire. Sirin's senses were on high alert, her body taut with adrenaline. She felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration, a primal instinct to survive. They reached a junction, Jax pausing to listen. "This way," he murmured, gesturing towards a less traveled corridor. They moved quickly, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. Suddenly, Jax stopped, his hand gripping Sirin's arm. "Wait," he whispered, his eyes narrowing. A group of rebels, their faces masked, emerged from a side corridor. They carried the same type of weapons Jax used, but their movements were less disciplined, more frantic. Sirin recognized one of them, a tall, imposing female, the rebel leader who had captured her. The leader spotted Sirin, her eyes widening in surprise. "Sirin," she exclaimed, her voice sharp. "Come with us. We're getting out of here." Sirin hesitated. These were the rebels who had betrayed her, the ones who had handed her over to the hegemony. She didn't trust them. She glanced at Jax, seeking his guidance. His expression was unreadable, but his grip on her arm tightened. Before Sirin could make a decision, the corridor behind them erupted in chaos. More hegemony soldiers appeared, their weapons firing. The rebels returned fire, the hallway transforming into a deadly crossfire. Jax pulled Sirin towards a small, unmarked door. "In here," he shouted, pushing her inside. He followed, slamming the door shut behind them. They were in a small, windowless room, the air stale and musty. Jax leaned against the door, his chest heaving. "We're safe, for now," he said, his voice strained. "But they'll be looking for us. We have to keep moving." Sirin's mind raced. The rebels, the hegemony soldiers, the collapsing facility, it was all too much. She looked at Jax, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Why risk your life for me?" Jax met her gaze, his expression serious. "Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. "You deserve a chance. Everyone does." The rhythmic hum of the escape vessel's engines filled the silence, a comforting counterpoint to the tumultuous events of the past few cycles. Sirin sat beside Jax, gazing out at the swirling nebula that stretched before them like a celestial canvas. The vibrant hues of crimson, gold, and azure danced across the void, a stark contrast to the sterile, metallic gray of the hegemony facility they had left behind. She still couldn't quite comprehend how she had escaped, how this human soldier, once her designated executioner, had become her unlikely savior. His actions defied logic, defied everything she had ever been taught about humans and their empire. Yet, his quiet strength, his unwavering resolve, had given her a reason to believe, a flicker of hope in the desolate landscape of her heart. "Where are we going?" Sirin finally asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Her voice, though still tinged with weariness, held a new note of curiosity, a subtle shift from the icy edge it had carried for so long. Jax turned to her, his gaze steady and reassuring. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere the hegemony can't reach us." He paused, his eyes searching hers. "Is there anywhere you'd like to go? Anyone you want to see?" Sirin's 3 eyelids flickered, a brief veil obscuring her vision as she considered his words. She thought of her scattered comrades, the remnants of the rebellion, hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. Could she even reach them? Would they even accept her after her perceived betrayal? I don't know, she admitted, a tremor of vulnerability in her voice. "My people are scattered. The rebellion is fractured. I have nowhere to go." Jax's expression softened. "Then we'll find somewhere," he said gently. "We'll find a place for you to start again. To build a new life." Sirin looked at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. A new life? The concept seemed alien, impossible. Her existence had always been defined by conflict, by survival. The idea of peace, of a life beyond the battlefield, was a distant, almost unimaginable dream. "I don't know how," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've only ever known war." Jax reached out, his hand hovering just above hers. He didn't touch her, respecting her unspoken boundaries, but the gesture conveyed a silent understanding, a quiet reassurance. "Then I'll teach you," he said softly. "There's more to life than fighting, Sirin. I promise you." Sirin looked at him, her heart pounding against her ribs. His words, his gentle touch, resonated within her, stirring a flicker of hope she hadn't dared to acknowledge until now. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to her existence than what she had always known. Perhaps, with Jax's help, she could learn to navigate this unfamiliar landscape, to find a place for herself in a world beyond the battlefield. The escape vessel continued its journey through the nebula, a small beacon of hope traversing the vast expanse of the cosmos. For Sirin, it was not just a journey to a new destination, but a journey towards a new beginning, a journey guided by the unwavering belief of the human who had chosen to save her, who had seen within her the potential for something more than a warrior, more than an enemy. He had seen her, truly seen her, and that in itself was a kind of miracle. The escape pod shuddered gently, the rhythmic thrum of its engines a soothing counterpoint to the chaotic symphony of destruction they had left behind. Saria sat beside Jax, gazing out at the vast, swirling tapestry of the nebula that unfolded before them. The vibrant colors, a mesmerizing dance of crimson, gold, and azure, painted a breathtaking contrast to the cold, metallic gray of the hegemony facility they had escaped. It felt like a lifetime ago that she had been a prisoner, awaiting execution, her world reduced to the confines of a cold, desolate cell. Now, surrounded by the infinite beauty of the cosmos, she felt a flicker of something she hadn't felt in what seemed like an eternity, hope. Where are we going? Saria asked, her voice barely a whisper, still tinged with the weariness of her ordeal, yet carrying a new note of curiosity. Jax turned to her, his gaze steady and reassuring. Somewhere safe. Somewhere beyond the hegemony's reach. He paused, his eyes searching hers. Is there anywhere you'd like to go? Anyone you want to see? Saria's 3 eyelids flickered, a momentary veil obscuring her vision as she considered his question. Her thoughts drifted to her scattered comrades, the remnants of the rebellion, hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. Could she even reach them? Would they accept her after her capture, after she had been branded a traitor? I don't know, she admitted, a tremor of vulnerability in her voice. My people are scattered. The rebellion is fractured. I have nowhere to go. Jax's expression softened. Then we'll find somewhere, he said gently. We'll find a place for you to start again. To build a new life. Saria looked at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. A new life? The concept seemed alien, impossible. Her entire existence had been defined by conflict, by the constant struggle for survival. The idea of peace, of a life beyond the battlefield, was a distant, almost unimaginable dream. I don't know how, she confessed, her voice barely audible. I've only ever known war. Jax reached out, his hand hovering just above hers. He didn't touch her, respecting her unspoken boundaries, but the gesture conveyed a silent understanding, a quiet reassurance. Then I'll teach you, he said softly. There's more to life than fighting, Saria. I promise you. Saria looked at him, her heart pounding against her ribs. His words, his gentle presence, resonated within her, stirring a flicker of hope she hadn't dared to acknowledge until now. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to her existence than what she had always known. Perhaps, with Jax's help, she could learn to navigate this unfamiliar landscape, to find a place for herself in a world beyond the battlefield. As the escape pod continued its journey through the nebula, a small beacon of hope traversing the vast expanse of the cosmos, Saria felt a profound shift within her. It was not just a journey to a new destination, but a journey towards a new beginning, a journey guided by the unwavering belief of the human who had chosen to save her, who had seen within her the potential for something more than a warrior, more than an enemy. He had seen her, truly seen her, and in that profound act of recognition, a fragile seed of hope had taken root in the desolate landscape of her heart. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Saria felt a sense of anticipation, a quiet excitement for the possibilities that lay ahead. The war might not be over, but her personal battle, the one fought within the confines of her own heart, had finally reached a fragile truce. And in that quiet space, a new kind of strength began to emerge, a strength born not of conflict, but of connection, of hope, and the promise of a new beginning.